Okay, today is Monday, June 3rd, and I wanted to talk about my experience this past weekend sitting in the teepee with Peyote, grandfather Peyote. It was such a beautiful ceremony and probably the most intense isn't the right word, but challenging maybe, and beautiful at the same time experience that I've had in the teepee. It brought stuff to the surface that I really didn't expect to be dealing with. I went there originally intending to just deal with my son and his mission and how he was treated and the anger and all that it brought up. But it went, okay, we'll deal with that. Here you go. Now let's dig a little deeper into that dark spots, the basement of my soul, and dug up some pretty shadowy stuff I had buried and hadn't wanted to deal with for a really long time. Brought that up to the surface and said, okay, take a look at this. We're going to work on this now. You've got the church done. You've done your work around the church. And I know that's true because I was able to sit in sacrament meeting the next day when my son blessed his son. My oldest son blessed his only son. And the last time I was in church was 5 years ago, Memorial Weekend, with my father, and it was hell. It was the worst experience ever, and my father and I had a huge falling out that weekend because of church, because I refused to come back. And that's all. My mother had just passed away literally just a few weeks before that, and he was so sure in his heart that I was going to come back. And when I said no, I will never be a Mormon again, it shattered our relationship, and it had already kind of been shattered. So hang on, there, I had to plug my phone in. Our relationship had already been shattered, and so this was one of those you can't come back from it moments, that things will never be the same. So I swore I was never going to go back to church, for any reason. And I didn't for 5 years. My son's baby blessing was the first time I set foot back in church for sacrament meeting or any official meeting like that since the Memorial Day after my mom passed. And I couldn't have done that without the healing work that I've done with specifically peyote in the teepee, with the amazing, remarkable women, medicine women, who so lovingly and graciously and generously give that gift of service. They are so special to me that they provide this healing modality. The gratitude and appreciation just doesn't cover it. But that is the only reason I was able to go back to church. And when my son left on his mission, I didn't go. I didn't go to his farewell. And it's because of what happened with my father. And that was healed with the teepee. So it's powerful, powerful medicine, and powerful healing can come from it if you're willing to put in the work. It's not a magic wand. It's not, you can take peyote and not get the benefits if you're not willing to do the work after you've sat with it. It's so much more than just what happens in the teepee. It keeps working, and it keeps helping you way beyond that if you allow it. So Saturday, my stake president, when I confronted him, a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks tomorrow, when I confronted him, it felt really good. He was my Goliath, and I slew him. He represented so much, and so much more than just the shit that happened with my son. The shit that happened my entire life with the church. He represented that patriarchal monster that I have dealt with in my life, and I fucking took him out. That's how I felt. Like, yeah, I slew him. And there was this piece of me that just was so happy and loved that strong, confident, powerful woman who stood up to the patriarchal bullshit. That's how I saw it. And so when I was sitting in the teepee and dealt with that first layer of pain with my son, the next time around, it was like a war had started within me, and it lasted for the whole 9 hours. There was this war inside me about that, because there was that the part of me that wanted to stay comfortable and safe and not make waves and not make conflict. And then there's the other part of me, the Lilith part of me, or Kali, the destroyer, because you have to destroy things sometimes before you can create. It's just life. It's a circle. And I'd been playing in that smaller part of me for so long, the part that just, wants to do everything that, I mean, I can see how the last 8 years I've been on a path towards allowing the Lilith inside me or to come out. And I think I'm finally there. I'm ready. But how one of the people in the teepee put it is maybe what I need to do is look at it in a controlled way, not just burn everything down and start over, but controlled burns here and there. Like the stake president was a controlled burn, and taking care of some other shit's going to be a controlled burn, and to just do it in pieces rather than just being destructive and wiping everything out. But that's that war that was going on inside me. Do I want to stay safe and play small, or do I want to get out of my own way and see what this dark side of me, this Lilith part of me can do? I love the story of Lilith. It's always spoken to me since I got out of the church. The story of Adam's first wife, and she wouldn't submit to Adam, and she got kicked out of the garden. She was the one before Eve, and it's actually really, beautiful to me, and inspiring, but scary as hell as well. And standing up to the patriarchy like I did. I don't want to go back to playing small and to being safe. And yeah, I kind of let that Lilith out. And she doesn't want to go back into the shadowy parts of me. She wants to stay present and get some shit done. And I want her to. I want that shadowy part of me to have a voice, because it's been silent and suppressed for, 50 years, a really long time. Okay, maybe not 50 years, probably, definitely 42. I was 42 when I left the church, and that was when my Lilith first started sneaking her way up to say, okay, now here's what you're going to do next. And I know Mormons hearing this will say, see, It's all bad. It's that serpent, it's that snake, it's Satan telling her to do these bad things. That's that cult mindset that I've had to deal with. And that's not it. It's what they don't get. The piece that they don't get is that you can't have yin without yang. You can't have white without dark. Both white and black are needed, and they have all the colors, and you just can't have one without the other. It's not about separating good and evil. Good and evil will always be within everybody and together. It's just the flip side of the coin. It's which one are you going to allow? And I love that story about the two wolves, the Cherokee proverb about the two wolves, and the usual telling of the story, the American telling of the story, is that you starve one and feed the other. Like the wolf inside you, whether it's the white wolf or the black wolf, whichever one you feed is the one that is going to grow and be good. But the original telling of that story is that you don't starve one or the other, but you lead them both. You feed them both, because they both have qualities that you need in your life. And I love that. I love that. The dark and the white don't have to be in conflict, that they can work together. And that's really what I was going through a lot in this last TP session within me, was just because there was this battle. There was definitely a war going inside me. And it wasn't so much a right or wrong kind of war, but just am I going to stay small and be safe and not seen, not heard, or am I going to rise up to the next level and allow Lilith to do some things in my life? Allow that part of me that wants to be in control and get shit done and not take bullshit, and maybe not make as many friends because of the way I am. Maybe she'll burn some bridges. But I got my first little taste of what that feels like, to truly stand in my power. And wow, it was amazing. And so, yeah, there was a lot of deep, dark, shadowy stuff that wanted to come up to the surface, to be recognized and to be dealt with. And I have 8.5 weeks until I will be sitting in ceremony again. And I have a lot of work cut out for me in the next 8.5 weeks. But because of this ceremony, I'm going to get that shit done. See what the next level is. So sitting in sacrament meeting was challenging. I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to be there anywhere but there. I'd have been happy to go because it sucks. It sucks. But I am so grateful I was there for my son. And he did a beautiful job with his baby, and I get it. That's their path, and I accept it. And I'm grateful I was able to support him in it. As myself, I wore that dress, not super modest to Mormon standards, but it was what I wanted to be in and what I felt good in. And I never would have done that before. So I am growing. I am growing. The fact that I went to his thing and faced one of my biggest fears was great. So next up, I want to ayahuasca is calling me. I really, really want to sit with that medicine. But that's going to open up a huge can of worms in my life when I do. So there's got to be definitely some prep work before I sit with that medicine. But I can hear her calling, and it won't be much longer till I sit with that medicine. My sweet children, my 7-year-old and my daughter with Down syndrome. So my two youngest, who are 7 and 11, when I walked in from the teepee ceremony, greeted me at the door, and they were so excited to see me, and because I'd been gone all day. And my daughter with Down syndrome just came over and hugged. She just hugged me and hugged me. Anyways, she can't communicate super well, but she reads energy like no other. She is so good at it. And she came over and put her little hands on me like she was giving me Reiki, and just hugged me, and God, just touched my heart. She's such a sweet, loving child. But she can be a freaking challenge at the same time. Don't let that sweetness fool you. She's got the Kali in her as well. She's got the Lilith in her as well. She's not going to be told how to live her life, that's for sure. So she greeted me at the door, and then my sweet little son greeted me as well with a letter. And he drew me a picture. He painted me a picture. I have to show it. Which I think is beautiful. It's June. It's Pride. He loves rainbows. Rainbows are his favorite thing. And he painted me this rainbow picture. So sweet. And then he wrote me a note. To Mom from RJ. And it says, I love you, Mom, so much. You make me feel about Evie, our dog just passed. I love you, Mom, RJ. And then he just did a ton of hearts on it. His sweet little soul has not been indoctrinated into any religion. And children just naturally connect to that spark within everybody. We all have that spark. We didn't put it in, and we can't put it out. And my children who have been raised without religion, compared to my children who've been raised with it, there is such a difference when we are in private and can talk. There's just not this fear and shame that my older children have. And I'm so grateful for that. And the one thing that really bothered me when I was in the Mormon church yesterday and listening to Fast and Testimony meeting was that so much of it was brought up about losing the spirit. Like, you can lose this gift, and if you have the spirit or don't have the spirit, it matters. And to me, that is such bullshit. We all have that spirit, that connection, whatever you want to call it, divine inspiration, or just inspiration. It's the same thing. You can either connect with it or not connect with it. And to think that you could actually lose that is so sad. And I used to think that way. So I get it. But stuff like this from my sweet children who have never been indoctrinated, who just feel that connection to source. That's how I look at it. They're connected to source. Those two children thought about me all day long while I was in TP, and were so excited to see me when I got back. I was gone over 12 hours for the ceremony, and they greeted me first thing in the door with love and kindness, and they didn't understand what I was doing, but they knew that it was important to me, and I felt their love and support in that teepee, that's for sure. And all my family, again, my husband took me to and from ceremony, which meant a lot because I know it's really hard for him. When I sit with this medicine, he does not particularly like it. He doesn't like any plant medicine. And there are a lot of people who feel like him. But I know what it's done for me, and that I could not have made that leap from 5 years ago, swearing I would never go back to church again, to sitting in church. And I would say I tolerated the bullshit around me. I didn't roll my eyes. I didn't make a big scene, but I tolerated it. I was able to be there for my son where I couldn't have done that earlier. I was unable to do that for my son who went on his mission. So it meant a lot. And it is all because of the healing work with peyote. Like I said, I have a long road ahead the next 8 weeks. That shadow shit that has been brought to the surface is going to be dealt with, so that next time I sit with that lovely medicine, I can ask what's next. And it's going to be a crazy but beautiful summer, and I'm excited to see what happens next time I'm in ceremony. It's going to be a retreat, so it's going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that I get experience with that medicine, not just peyote, but breath work and sweat lodges and that whole thing. So we'll see what Spirit says next, but I'm just super grateful that I had that experience in the teepee and then was able to go to church the next Sunday. Miracles do happen. All right, namaste.